Welcome back to On Right Podcast. Here you have Elijah alongside Grant. We're going to get into another episode, honing in on Michigan football. We're going up against Rutgers this week. The mighty Charlotte Knights, Scarlet Knights.
Scarlet,
Yeah,
Scarlet Knights, yeah, something
yes.
like that.
Obviously, we spoke about it beforehand. Should be a complete beatdown. But just kind of want to throw it over to you. A lot of
Yeah.
stuff happening this week as well. I think we could use a couple convincing wins. We're going to dive into the playoff a little later. What are your thoughts heading into a few days out from Rutgers?
Yeah, I would say, I think this is just like a good game to kind of just right the ship's not the right term because we didn't lose last week or anything like that, but there is obviously a lot of stuff that's carrying over from last week. So I think this would be a good game to just get back right from like a, mental standpoint, like trying to understand like the goal, light at the end of the tunnel, what the goal is at the end of the season. And I think Harbaugh does a great, I'm sure he did a great job of just getting everybody back in line. I heard him say something about how he woke up at like 4 a.m. and had an epiphany of how it was time to turn the page for the next week. You know how he operates. So I know he's got that right. But I think, yeah, this is just an opportunity to, really, go out there and, yeah, just dominate and do what you're supposed to do. I mean, since Harbaugh's played against Rutgers, we beat them, by an average of 33 points. And that's even counting the debacle when we were down 17 during the COVID year and came back and ended up winning. Beat them 77-7 back in like 2016 or 2017. They're starting a redshirt freshman. He had his first start last week ever. Threw the ball. He only threw for like 80 yards. Their offense is terrible. I mean, I'd say they're improving from time past. They're like 4-4 opposed to like 2-6 or like 1-7, 3 or 4 years ago. So they are improving to where they're at least beating some teams that they should beat or, playing some other teams tough. But from what I've heard, offense sounds like it's in shambles. And I mean, they haven't been able to score. Defense is decent, but, I just don't think this is going to be any really game to be concerned about at all whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I think you kind of worded it right. Just it's a good game to clear the air with.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to overlook them too much. We have to go out there and handle business, but it should be one of those games. And I do think coming off the high emotion of the Michigan State game, a game that um, we had to get, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of a bit of a monkey off the back for this team. A lot of guys that have been on the squad never beat State.
Yep.
Uh, they got last couple of years on us, so I think it was a good game to roll into off that emotion and just everything that happened after the game, and so I think, and also a game you can kind of get right with as far
Mm-hmm.
as the playoff. We're essentially in the playoffs now. And November football, if you're in the Big Ten, November football, if you're a Michigan team or Ohio team, is uh, you're playing for your livelihood. And I think that's something that we need. We're playing Illinois coming up, playing Ohio coming up, so a couple of real tough matchups. So we need another game to go in here,
Tighten things
try
up.
some things, yeah, tighten things up, try some things out. Maybe a game where Blake Corum hopefully doesn't have to have 30 carries, and just kind of get some people fresh, some reps for other people. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to in this game. And I think the team is starting to hit on some good. I don't. We have improvements to make, but I'm liking everything we've seen so far. I've said this before. We're answering every question that pops up.
Yep.
And I think there is a big question mark just on November football, and I'm looking forward to what we have to roll out. And yeah, no, I don't know very much about this Rutgers team. I do know I watched play earlier in the year, and I think that same quarterback popped in for a couple of snaps. He's a guy they were kind of hyping up a little bit for like a Rutgers
Mm-hmm.
program, somebody that
Turn
maybe
things around.
was going there. Yeah, he could have went easily scooped somewhere else, and but he chose. So you know, and but
Good on him.
I tip my hat to him. Yeah, I tip my hat to him. He'll be at Cincinnati, and yeah, but I think
Right.
no. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Just more Michigan football, pound the rock, and make it look good. We got to start getting some convincing wins, and because I think that's what the committee's proving. That
Yeah.
I feel like this team should be slightly disrespected or feel disrespected,
They should.
and
Yeah.
maybe take it out on Rutgers.
Yeah. And I think the thing too is it's kind of tough about it is we're just being I mean, it's not tough. It's just what it is. We're being measured by a specific team week to week, and they're looking at how we matched up against that team and how they matched up against that team. And I just feel like you said, this is just an opportunity to work on some stuff. Get more of that passing game involved. I mean, I didn't. I don't know. I'm not in that majority that was like freaking out about the 5 field goals against Michigan State. I mean, I think maybe 3 field goals or 4 field goals more. You know what I'm saying? Might have. I think we should have, or other way around. I think we should have scored at least two extra touchdowns. But I mean, I just feel like it was one of those scenarios where we're just being super conservative and weren't trying to do anything dumb in the red zone just to give them any spark of life. Like that game was, we're being real. Like it was over like mid third quarter. Like so. Um, but yeah, I mean, like you hit it right on the head. I mean, I think it's we need to just use this game as a way to get some more guys some reps. I mean, we unfortunately lost the starter. I'm Jamon Green. I'm fairly certain he's not going to be playing this week. I mean, he's got stuff he's dealing with, broken nose, potentially concussion. Like they're gonna be throwing a freshman, Will Johnson, in there. He's been playing quite a bit, so that's not anything to really worry about. But this is just where these are just important times to get reps to guys, that aren't playing a whole lot. Taking care of the team, the starters. Like, I don't want to see Blake Corum with 35 carries against Rutgers. That does not need to happen at all. I mean, get him his, just because in the Heisman race right now, get him his buck 15, whatever touchdown or two, get him out type deal. But need to see more Edwards. Hopefully Stokes is out of the doghouse. Working him some more. I see he's starting to kind of get some run. Towards the end of games and. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is. I think this is a good opportunity for us to, put some, good tape out there. Or hell, I mean, knowing Harbaugh, he might just continue to keep just going super conservative on offense because he can. Just so we're not, giving any extra, film to, other opponents we're gonna see down the road.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I think I tend to agree. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I do.
Yeah,
I would like to see those reps. I would like to see JJ hit another deep ball outside of the first 2 weeks. Um, but I think I don't want to be overly critical as well. So it's one of those things. I agree with you. I think in order to beat Ohio, you you're probably gonna have to go for a touchdown at least 2 more times.
touchdown for touchdown. Yep,
And maybe you need to get some experience doing that in the game now. Maybe you don't. I think that time will tell with that. And as far as being compared week to week with another team, I think that is almost it's added. It's I don't know. It's kind of it's not fair to us really. It's not
mm-hmm.
fair that they keep that's the measuring stick. And I think all the way around you flop all the scores, all the games, they would put Ohio still at 2. I think
Yeah,
they would find a way to do that regardless because that's kind of the lay of the land. I think they want us to prove another time around that we can go out and knock them off.
yep,
And I don't necessarily think that's true. I think we arguably have better body of work so far, and I think that's a very strong argument. But outside of that, I'm more upset with the Clemson being ahead of us in
yeah.
playoffs, and I think that is just utter disrespect. And I think,
Blatant bias.
yep, I in my heart of hearts know we would have are going to have an epic battle with Ohio. In my heart of hearts, I know we would have a good tough fight versus the other versus Georgia and versus Tennessee. We would beat the shit out of Clemson.
We'd be a ten
I
point
don't.
we'd be a 10 point favorite, like neutral site against they still got quarterback issues. Like I ain't gonna cut you off. I'm gonna start rambling.
Yeah, no. You can dive in, whatever. I just think that's I don't
Yeah.
get that. It's bias. The ACC is not as good as the Big Ten. They quarterback issues, multiple escapes, and so I'm hoping for the first time in a while I'll be rooting for Notre Dame to go ahead and knock somebody off. So
Yeah, no, I was gonna agree with you, man. I mean, I think this is where so I guess when I say like it don't matter because, kind of for Michigan, just because, we just gotta beat, we know who we have to be at the end of the season. Gotta go undefeated essentially to be in that conversation. I think the thing that gets me is like, to a certain extent, it does kind of matter from a positioning standpoint. Like now, this week we were at 5. You know, would have in 2 3 weeks because TCU has a very impressive win against Texas or something. Now we're at 6, just because some people are deeming that they have better, top 10 or top 25 victories than we do. So then you run that risk now of like, if we're going 11-0 and play in Ohio and we lose, now we're going to get dumped to the 7th, 8th, 9th, and end up being, in some, just it's just not going to work in our favor in that side of things. And that's where I just, like I said, I don't get too frustrated about it because I know, I mean, they go 12-0 like that, there's no doubt about it that we're going to get in. But like, it does kind of make me worry about our chances of still maybe getting in, if we potentially do drop, that game, or what that'll look like. Because they're saying there's a chance we could happen, but it had to be kind of chaos, but like chaos to ensue for that to happen. But I just think, you look at it, they got 3 teams, 3 SEC teams in the top 6. They're trying to just kind of give, like, Clemson just gets this kind of like road basically to where they almost just quote unquote deserve, you know, to be in that top 4 because they're undefeated and playing the ACC. But I don't know. And I think, there's a lot of, talk about our schedule and who we play, but I feel like, I mean, we just watched Tennessee play Tennessee Tech 2 weeks ago. Bama plays Austin P. And I'm talking, this is like late in the season.
Yeah.
Like, guys are literally getting double, like 2 bye weeks essentially,
No,
like
I
playing the same
so the
teams.
week that we're playing what then will probably be like a top 14 team, top 15 team in Illinois. They'll be
Yep.
sisters of the poor. It's kind
Yeah.
of yeah. No, so I mean, who to
And
get
I'll even say too,
a chance of getting beat up? Who has a better chance of going have a player go down? Who has a better chance
right.
of losing or going on the ropes or even
Mm-hmm.
if that happens and Blake has to have 32 carries to get it done when your
Right.
starters pull it at half. All of that comes into play.
Right. And I'll even say too, like, it was somebody made a really good point. Like, they need to start looking at schedule for it, like what that strength of schedule looks like. So right now we're like 79th, and Clemson like 72nd or something like that. But for the rest of the season, we have a top 10 schedule, and they have like a 50th something schedule because I think they end up playing. They got Notre Dame, they play South Carolina, who is not going to be that great. And I think they kind of couple bottom feeder, ACC teams that'll be worked in there. And like I said, we coming up on our toughest part of the year. So I think that is something they do have to kind of take a look at and just not. Cause I think that's like okay, like congrats to you, like you made it through your first 8 games unscathed. Like I just don't think that, like, if you get to this point, because it is hard to win games. Like, granted, they probably could have played a little bit of tougher competition, non-conference, but there's not really an incentive to do that when you still got to get through Ohio at the end of the year to do anything and go and finish undefeated. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we literally have this door that we have to open that a lot of other conferences don't have to, like, really necessarily worry about. Like, they're getting into the, like, Georgia and Bama are getting into the conference championship to see each other with little no issue if Tennessee don't beat Georgia this weekend.
Yeah.
They
No, so
don't.
I agree with you, and that's what I was just going to dive into. So I think the 3 schools that control the destiny are Michigan, Bama. I mean, obviously everybody wins out, but I'm saying that if they win out, they're in.
Yep.
If we win out, we're in. If Alabama wins out, they're in, and um, in either one of the Georgia or Tennessee. I think
Yeah.
obviously. So those are the 3 teams. They're in if they win out. Throw Ohio in there, I guess, as well. I think everybody else is kind of a toss up, right? I see them, they can get leapfrogged.
Mm-hmm.
So so Tennessee plays Georgia this weekend. Let's
Yep.
just play ifs, what ifs. Tennessee plays Georgia this weekend. Tennessee loses. Georgia went out. Bama went out. They meet in the SEC championship. Bama gets Georgia. Bama's in. I think that's the worst case scenario for everybody else because they're still going to find a way to get one of them other 2 SEC teams in.
Right.
Because that's how much they put on the SEC plate. That's how much they respect the SEC, and so I think that'd be the worst case scenario for us, for Ohio, Clemson. If you're anybody else, a fan outside of the SEC, that's a very negative.
We're fighting over one spot basically.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think they're going to find a way to. If that happens, they're going to get two of them in,
Yeah.
and I think that's a disrespect to the other conferences. And you, not to necessarily say that the Big Ten deserves two teams either, but I think in the way you did that is you set the table for them. I think they
Mm-hmm.
set the table for them to be two teams in that first, like you said, because the first seeding does matter to a certain because it's that first seeding is the domino to all the rest of them.
Right.
Unless you're going to throw all of it out the window and just play,
Right.
music.
You want to be as close to the top as possible because if you lose, you're not falling all the way back. And
Yep.
so yeah, like it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Tennessee loses one to number two. Where are they going to put them?
Yeah.
4, 5.
Right.
Then they can play right back in. Yeah,
3. They don't mess around. Put them at bro. You know if they lose this weekend, they're gonna be at 3, no question. And it's just that like, and even if we could, and we're gonna take care. And like I said, it really doesn't matter just because of like just for Michigan, it's kind of like whatever. But it just kind of sucks seeing this constant bias because I mean teams not that we care, but like teams like TCU, they beat the ranked teams they're 8-0 first of all, and they've beaten 3 ranked teams, and they're all ranked higher than the teams that Clemson beat this year, and they're at 7. They're behind, if I'm not mistaken, 2 teams that have already lost 1 game. So like that in itself, it's like okay, like they're doing everything they're supposed to, but is it because they were just ranked like way too low to start the year off? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can look at their schedule compared to Clemson's and say that they've definitely played way better competition based off the latest playoff rankings.
yeah,
So it's flawed to a point to where, and I get it. This is a whole different conversation, but like the expansion is necessary. I don't think 12 teams is necessary, but they do have to kind of figure out something here to. I don't want like giving teams a chance isn't really the word. I would just say to like almost like level the playing field though. Like you got these SEC powerhouses that don't even see each other in the regular season that both get a spot most likely every year.
yeah.
Like how are we gonna like kind of level this out where that doesn't happen where every other school and every other conference has to see their biggest rival regular season before even, you know, going into and their biggest rival, one of the best teams in the country. It has been for the last 15 years. Like where's that energy for the SEC? You know what I'm saying? It's just it's strange how it unfolds every single year for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just don't want that to happen. But with the current ratings, I'm most upset with Clemson. I do think we should probably be in that spot, and
Yep.
I don't necessarily respect the conference as much, but I wouldn't be mad if TCU was in that spot either. I just feel like Clemson hasn't proved enough,
No.
and they're in it maybe because they've been in it before. I think
Mm-hmm.
you can't tell me they're one of the three best teams. I just
Yeah.
flat out don't believe, and they're not gonna have the opportunity to prove that. I think as far as they don't play anybody worth talking about the rest of the year to prove that. So I think that's kind of that's why them first seedings matter because I guess if
Yeah.
you have to keep them in. But I mean, you're gonna
Right.
keep them in, and then we beat Ohio, and we leapfrog them, and they're undefeated. We're undefeated. That's stupid.
Yeah.
You gotta look at the lay of the land as far as you're right. The remaining strength of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just
one thing I didn't know until last night watching the show was we were supposed to play UCLA, and it said that it got canceled. I didn't know that
I
until
did know. Yeah, I did hear about that.
so. I mean, obviously, and they're a pretty good team this year, but that just shows you how everything works out. If we would have, let's say, we play them, and even solid touchdown, 10-point win, it's a whole different conversation right now.
Did that 3 most likely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it just shows you how
100%.
it works out. And I meant to look into it last night, but while it got canceled, and I don't think we should have to do this because I think we're in the same conference, same side as Ohio, and they don't seem to have an issue when it comes to you know um, the level of respect when
Right.
it comes to these wins.
Yeah. It almost feels like I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but it almost feels like they're just like was last year fluke. You know what I'm saying? Like because they'll sit there and say like they're only looking at this year, but it takes a whole different story when these shitty ass rankings drop that look like this. Like because like you're literally going off of last year.
Yeah,
Like all these teams was in the mix. in the same places last year and they hadn't lost or anything, and you're not really looking at, how Georgia struggled against Missouri on the road, or how, Bama struggled to beat Texas. Texas is 5-3 now. Like they're going in the wrong direction. Like that, if that win doesn't look as great as it used to anymore.
One
Like
point
Clemson,
in a 1 point win over a team that was killing you when their quarterback was in.
yeah.
You know,
And
it,
that
yeah,
and I right. And somebody made a joke saying like, do they watch these games? Because like you can't, like, even the comparison like Michigan Ohio State, like they're like, oh yeah, Michigan's just more kind of like workman type. I'm like, yeah, that Penn State game wasn't even close for, it was close for a half. Like that same exact team had,
really close.
huh?
It's like it wasn't really as close as it looked. Like the
Right.
box score if you watch the game.
If JG, if he don't throw an interception off somebody's helmet and bounce off somebody else's helmet, and they catch it go the other way, it would have literally been 45-10 or whatever. Yeah, whatever we finished with.
Or they have 21 yards the whole
Yeah.
half, and they broke off a 61-yarder.
Right.
Well, that it came down to two plays. So if you really watch that game, we had that in our hand the entire time.
Right.
So no, I agree. And I mean, I don't remember who it was. I remember at first the committee had a bunch of random people in it, like Condoleezza Rice and, like
Yeah.
random, like a bunch of people like that probably aren't sitting there watching these games. So,
Yeah.
uh, it's like a
That's
committee of distinguished people, who are supposed to be trustworthy, but it's like, all right, but are they football fans watching this shit on Saturday? Right.
right. Yeah. So, because I think, that's what makes it frustrating is like the data is literally right in front of your eyes. Like they could pull up ESPN and look at all the scores. You know what I'm saying? To a certain extent, but it's like you can definitely find and seek this information out. Like we're being called like, and we embrace it because Michigan's like very blue collar, so it makes sense. Like as far as the state itself, but like very workman-like approach and not as explosive as Ohio State. It's like we just had two backs go for $160 on the ground against a, a top five rush defense. You don't call it explosive because it wasn't, just over the top. Like that to me, that like that kind of type of comment is just such like a casual fan type deal. And
Yeah.
that's what you hear somebody doesn't really care about football. They're just like, oh yeah, like I didn't see enough touchdowns thrown, so maybe they're not that impressive. But it's like we're literally putting our foot on people's necks in the second half and just
It's just like a dog whistle for, boring
yeah,
or, kind of like, like not entertaining. So what are you saying, that if Schumacher and Ronnie Bell each had 160 and our running back only had 40 yards on the ground, that would be explosive. But
right,
I mean, what yards are yards, points are points, and
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
And whether
I just
in an
can't.
explosive play, whether it's a 60-yard pass or a 60-yard run, I think it's still an explosive play. Like it just happened differently.
Let's look at Clemson. Let's dive into their box scores. Um, I think workman like for them would be a friendly, comment.
Yeah,
I think they're just scrounging by. I think
yeah,
so. Hopefully Notre Dame can go and take care of business for us, and make it a little more easier.
right,
I do think if we can harness this disrespect and kind of use it as passion and use it all out and go on the field, and if we're sitting at 5 still going in Ohio and we know we got to beat them at 2 or 3, wherever the hell they might be at,
yeah,
I do think that could be used to fire and passion as well, because there is
right,
something. We're at the gate knocking. We're at the gate knocking to get in versus already through. So
yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, and like I said, obviously we're just voicing our opinions, but we already know what needs to happen, what needs to be done, and I think they'll take turbulence from last week, right the ship, and I know Harbaugh gonna have them ready, over this next month or so to handle business. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
yeah, no, I mean if you win, you're in.
Right.
Bottom line. I think McNamara said it last year as far as just honing in on November football.
Yep.
I kind of like that mentality for Michigan for the ever.
Yep.
Just November football it's part of the playoffs.
Yep.
It's uh, whether it's Illinois or whether whoever it might be, you're always going to probably have to play one sneaky good school and then tap it off with Ohio. And I think that's the mentality I want. And yeah, that's what makes it the best rival is they have to go through us, we have to go through them, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's a regular season non Big Ten conference for the conference.
Yep.
So
But yeah,
So I think that's why it's the best rival, and it just makes me hate them even more. But I look forward to what we can do, um, this coming November. But I think we got them though.
yeah,
I feel, yeah,
I agree. I agree. So yeah, well, I say before we sign off, for what it's worth, throw out a couple of Rutgers score predictions.
yeah.
Um, I'm looking at 38 zip. I think it is going to be just like we don't care that they want us to throw the ball over the place. We're just going to proceed to play our game, do what we have to do. I think the defense is going to just like defense might score this week. Um, yeah, I think it'll be. But I think it'll be like we'll just blank them and make things extremely difficult for the entire game.
No, I would love that. I would love that goose egg. Get the defense a little more fire,
Confidence.
yeah, confidence, firepower. But I think I'm gonna go a little more both sides. I'll say like let's go 48-10.
Okay.
Um, think obviously I think we have no problem moving the ball, and who knows what can happen for a couple points. But I think somewhere around there, typical game plan. Hopefully we're north of 350 again on the ground
Yeah.
and just boot stomping them. That's kind of. And I'm blanking. Where's the game at?
Us and Rutgers.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, go out there. It's never easy to win on the Big Ten road, but go out there another road win on the Cage belt, another more confidence or Cage JJ, and
Yeah.
no, so I think somewhere around like that 48-10 mark, with
Yeah.
a convincing victory. But no, I would love that goose egg.
Yeah. I think it's possible just looking at some of the box scores of some of the teams they played, and yeah, I mean, I feel like we'll like
Goose egg.
our domination is bully ball ain't pretty, but I think we'll look like we'll just.
Right.
I think I literally and like I said, I know we had just one more point, but I know red zone offense is kind of looking what it is like right now, but I have confidence in Harbaugh. He's just like, I'm not out here trying to just show y'all everything we got going on. Like we can kick a field goal here, and I promise you they won't make it past midfield after we kick it off. Like
Yeah.
I'm fine with that approach.
No, I agree. I agree. We got to get the red zone right. I think this is my last point. I think we're missing Eric Hall. I think Eric Hall was kind of who we thought would be the kind of blow the top off the defense. You know,
Possession, like yeah, keep drives going. Yeah,
big dude, large catch radius. If he's in, you don't know if it's a run or a pass. I think he was kind of going to be our little X factor inside the 20, inside the 15. Um, but I do think we're keeping some stuff in the tub.
yeah,
So yeah, I agree.
yeah. We'll be back with y'all on Sunday. Just the results from the game. Go blue. Talk to you soon.
Sure, go blue.